Welcome to SheKnowsArsenal. My name is Jessica. I'm your host. You can follow me on Twitter. Hold on. At JustTweets and at SheKnowsArsenal. Welcome. We are doing a live match preview ahead of a very, very big match against Manchester United that will be played at the Emirates tomorrow morning. Tomorrow morning for me, maybe the afternoon for you. But yeah, I am feeling very nervous. Yeah, you guys, we're going to talk about Gabriel Jesus and Livramento. Those are the two most, the biggest rumors so far. Yes, I'm gassed, absolutely. But before that, we have to preview the match because it's huge. If you've been an Arsenal fan for a long time, you know uh, matches against Manchester United are contentious. They are brutal. They're so hard. And even though Spurs are kind of like our historical rivals based on where we're located, uh, for me, I dislike Manchester United more than any other team on the planet. When I was growing up watching Arsenal, that is the rivalry that used to kill me. I just didn't think I would ever survive it. And I feel like tomorrow will be something similar. I think both teams are in weird places. Manchester United, obviously, with a new manager in Ten Hag, not coming in just yet, but at the end of the season, leaving Ajax. So one of two Manchester United could show up. It could be a good, motivated Manchester United where players are looking forward to impressing the new manager, or it could be a total down tools because according to reports, a lot of these players did not want Ten Hag. They're not really fighting for anything because they're no longer in Champions League or they're not fighting for titles. So I do feel like there's an opportunity for Arsenal here to play like we have something to lose. If we play like we have something to lose, I don't think Manchester United will fancy it. I really, really don't, because it feels as though when a team really tries against them, they don't want it. They need a team to kind of fold up and let them win the game, or else they're just like, they just can't get up for it. So I think it's up for Arsenal and the Arsenal fans to make this a very uncomfortable situation for Manchester United. And because they lack the motivation, they will just give up. That's what I'm hoping, y'all. That's what I'm hoping, because I'm not going to be able to go through some classic match where, they're playing really well and we're playing really well. And, a big moment is the reason why we don't win it. I can't handle it. I kind of need them to just crumble. And I think we'll get them to crumble if we actually just go out there and play like we did against Chelsea. Any team that's not motivated at the moment, not really fighting for anything, kind of on the beach, is not going to just play this game as hard as hard as they can if we're playing as hard as we can. So that's kind of my hopes for this game. I am nervous, but at the same time, I just kind of think just don't lose. I know that's probably not like the best motivation, but just don't lose, you guys, and just don't embarrass yourselves. We're at the Emirates, like let's do the business. So okay, she knows football. Awesome. You are a member. Thank you so much for joining as a member. I really appreciate it. Liam Duncan says, I'm confident for tomorrow. Tony says 6:30 a.m. kickoff. I know it's worse for you, Jess. Brutal. Yeah, it's like I need us to play well. Like there's no way I can wake up that early and not see us play well. Kane Kuhn says, Hola, Jess. Hola to you as well. Dave Riley says, huge game tomorrow. Which Arsenal will show up? I think that's what we're wondering. Is it going to be the Arsenal that played against Chelsea or the Arsenal that played in those 3 games before? And I'm hoping that the match against Chelsea gives this team a boost, shows them that like you can get a result without Thomas Partey, without Tierney. I think maybe the team was a little bit down just because, like when you lose big players, I think it takes the team a minute to recalibrate and remember who they are. And that's what it seems like we were able to recapture against Chelsea. But I mean, anything can happen, right? We've seen this team before. It looks super good, and then the very next game look like they've never kicked a ball. So yeah. And being back in the top 4 race, I get it. Like a lot of people felt like we were never out of it, and mathematically we weren't. But being back in a position where, we kind of control our own destiny is definitely something that worries me. I think that this team needs to take a hold of this situation, but we're still very young and inexperienced. And so I don't want the occasion of playing Manchester United to overtake us. And I do think the first game that we played against them at Old Trafford, where we lost 3-2, I think we played the kit, we played, the history, and not really the guys that were out there, because Manchester United didn't play well, neither did we, but it felt like we got swallowed by the occasion and Old Trafford and playing against Manchester United. But we all kind of know that this isn't the Manchester United of old. That doesn't mean that we're amazing, but we can beat this team if we really, really want it. We have something to really play for. For some reason, they act like they don't need top four or something. Maybe they don't, but it would be good for this young team to qualify for Champions League. So I want us to really fight for it. Cancun says just sleep early. I mean, I always go to bed early. Always. I am not a stay up late type of person. I go to bed at like 9, every night. That's my jam. I do like to wake up early. So 4:30, it's one of those where it is brutal, but if we win, I don't care. You know what I mean? But I am an early riser. It is kind of like it only sucks when we don't win. That's pretty much what it is. So there you go. Um, Liam says, "Are you going to do another scouting report?" I think I'll wait until the end of the season to get back into scouting reports, because the next couple of weeks are going to be very like, okay, West Ham, Spurs coming up to the end of the season. But over the summer, I do have plans to have journalists and transfer experts to come onto the channel and talk to us about the players that we're linked to. And then, of course, on my own, with probably some help from some friends, we'll do scouting reports on players that looks like they could potentially come to Arsenal. I'm interested to see what we do. It feels like we're going in a very Premier League proven, still within the 23 to 25 range, players with high ceilings kind of route. And I think we need a lot. We need quality and quantity this summer. So because we've pretty much this we're the skeleton crew right now in terms of a team. They have to bring in at least 5 or 6 players. There's just no way to get around it, especially if we get European football. So I think we'll see some kind of Jesus type deals, some Tielemans type deals, which is not, I don't think Arsenal fans are like super excited. I think some Arsenal fans were feeling like this might be our Allison, Virgil van Dijk type window where you get like the highest quality, but I still think we're a couple windows away from that. So we can definitely talk about that at the end. Jordan Shipper says Jesus and Gakpo is a major step forward on the attacking front. I kind of agree. I do. Let's see. Tony says form goes out the window when it comes to rivalry games. It does. I mean, and you just never really know what's going to happen. And I can see this being somewhat of a, quite a bit of goals, like kind of how the Chelsea game was, kind of how the first Man United game was, very back and forth. I don't think we're necessarily, we're not at our very best defensively. So I do worry about us giving up easy goals. It feels like you don't have to do much to get goals from Arsenal at this time, but maybe somebody like Tomiyasu can help us there. I think we've just kind of stretched it a little bit further. You have somebody like Cedric comes in, they start off okay, and then they just start to kind of dip, and you really realize like, oh yeah, we probably need Tomiyasu. And I think we've struggled without him defensively. I think you can look at our metrics and statistics and the goals that we've given up since he's been out of the team, and we have not been the same. And then you take Tierney out of there, and it's just like downhill from there. So maybe somebody like Tomiyasu can come in. Basically, what Arteta said in his press conference is that if he trained today, that he would be in the team for tomorrow, and he should be available. It's been 3 months. This guy has got to come back at some point. I was a little down over that 3 game period where I kind of felt like it wouldn't even matter if he came back, but That was just me being in my feelings. Of course, Tomiyasu would make a difference. When you have both of your starting fullbacks out, it does change the way that you play. It does take away some of the confidence from the back line. And we need any little boost that we can get from this team. We have a very thin squad. And if you can get one of our starters back in, obviously it won't cover up that Thomas Partey size hole in that midfield. But in terms of buildup and solidifying the back line, I do think it will help. As long as he's not still injured and we're not rushing him back, then play him against United, even if it's just, 60 minutes or so. We need to get this guy going. If he's going to be ready to play against Spurs, he probably needs to start playing now. But I just worry that he wasn't even in the squad against Chelsea. So what are the chances of him actually starting the game tomorrow? I don't know. But we'll definitely see what happens with Tomiyasu. But I'm going to hope that he can play because I do think it'll make a difference. Let's see. Nashville Gunner says wounded animal with a back against the wall is scary. Is that us or is that them? Who's a wounded animal? I know we were the wounded animal for sure. And I think we knew we needed to beat Chelsea. And it wasn't pretty, but we did it. We're still kind of not backs against the wall, but we're definitely back in a position where we can see the light at the end of the tunnel. And I hope we take advantage of it. Fab to Cool says, "Hey Jess, hope you're doing well." I am doing well. Thank you so much for asking. Fab Too Cool says, "Excited for summer transfers if we make top four." Yeah, I am. If we make top, I'm actually excited for summer transfers no matter what, because I think we need a big window regardless. And I like young players with upside. I do think we need some more experienced players, and it would be nice to bring in, the best players like the Osimhens and stuff like that. But I do think our window will look not relatively the same, but I do think we are going to kind of attract the sameish type of players regardless. We may be able to get one really superstar type player if we get into Champions League, but ultimately I think the goal is the same. Premier League proven, 23 to 25, very talented players that really fit the system and really want to play for Arsenal. I still think that that's going to be the goal. So of course I'm excited about transfers. You know me, I'm all about it. If you want to talk transfers, call me because I'm always up for it. I'm always up for it. Let's see. Zich says we don't have enough Gabrielles. I mean, the more Gabrielles, the better. I'm all for it. Tony says, what is Man U's lineup going to look like? No Fred, no Pogba, Shaw, no Cavani. That person coming back, Varane back. Yeah, so in terms of Manchester United, Maguire will most likely be out. I think it came out in the Athletic. So, but we also know that like anything can happen. They could say that he's going to be out and then he'll start. But Maguire is probably going to be out based on what the Athletic said because of the bomb threat. So you could think of it two ways. It could be advantage to United not having him, but they have to figure out what two they're going to use. And Maguire is their only center back that's actually comfortable on the left-hand side. So you could see another back three without him. And they did not look good with a back three/back five against Liverpool. Varane is a right-sided center back. Lindelof is a right-sided center back. Jones is who knows what Jones is. So I think not having your only left-sided center back could throw off whatever balance that they have. But you can also think of it as like, okay, they don't have the calamity of Maguire back there. Varane was back in training as well as Ronaldo. So those two could potentially play. And but no Fred, no Pogba, no Shaw, no Cavani. Those are all, that's all good for us. Oh, and McTominay is back. I'm pretty sure he's going to play. So yeah, I mean, you could look at, it could be a Matic, McTominay, Bruno Fernandes midfield three type of situation with what are their names? The two guys on their fullbacks, Tellez and Dallo. Yeah, those guys playing fullbacks. and Varane and Lindelof, who knows? All I know for sure is Ronaldo will play against us. That's 100% something that I know. He will not be on the bench. Um, and then Sancho and Rashford, maybe. That's pretty much all they have, right? Um, I don't know. I don't think anything that they put out there, I don't think will make a difference. I think it's all about what we do. I really don't feel like, I think if we come out and play and we show them that it's not going to be easy, they will crumble. They want teams to just say, "Oh, you're Manchester United. Okay, just here's the red carpet. Just come in and score the goals and don't fight at all." But if you put up any sort of fight, they will give up goals. They will capitulate. They won't come back. They're and a loud Emirates, I don't think is beneficial to them at all. So I think it's more about what we do versus what they do. Thank you so much. She knows football for your super chat. You're saying the truth will set you free. Well said, Jess. Thank you. Let's see. Um, Eddie says, I say we keep Benny Blanco at right back and allow Tavares to attack out wide. Also, it's weird that they get this boost of a new manager every time they play us. Yeah, but the only difference is that Ten Hag is not actually there. So the idea that they will be ready to play, like they could impress him in preseason. If he was in the stadium, I could understand more, but he won't be because he's still Ajax's manager. He still has to focus on that. So the idea that they will be pumped up, I think is less likely. I think it could happen, but I think I would bet more that they would be more like, we're definitely on the beach now, because Ralph Rangnick has no power whatsoever. They've also, people have known that it's going to be Ten Hag. Like, they've probably already known behind the scenes. So it's kind of like, what is the announcement really going to change? And a lot of the players didn't even want him. So, and the players that they have, a lot of them are going to be leaving. So I'm not sure that I believe that they're going to be like all pumped up, but I could be wrong. I could be wrong. Wouldn't be the first time. Would I keep Ben White at right back? Only if Tomiyasu wasn't 100% ready to go. That's what I'll say. Let's see. King Coon says, I know Maguire has not been great, but bomb threat is unacceptable. Absolutely. Like, as funny as it is to watch Maguire just kind of be this train wreck of a guy, like, I don't really understand the levels to which some of the fans are going to make it known that they don't like him. I thought booing him was odd. At an England game, he's been good for England. So I didn't really, I have a hard time believing that everybody in that stadium was a Manchester United fan. And I get that he's this really divisive character and he's really enemy number one for them. But like, the bomb threats are so strange. Like, it just doesn't make sense to go to that level. And it just feels very unnecessary and just weird. Like, if somebody in the Arsenal fan base did that to one of our players, I'd be embarrassed. It's just unacceptable. No matter how much it's like we can't just accept that there's always been bad players in your team from the beginning of time. We would just go and talk crap about them in the pub. Now it's online, but like actual physical harm, like, or potential physical harm, to me just makes no sense. It feels like we have way too much, like we feel too entitled to let players know how much we dislike them, and we're willing to go to any length to make that known. And I don't get it. Christopher says United fans hate Maguire, but he's their only center back that can progress the ball well. And I do agree with that. It's like with Spurs, they're very similar with Eric Dyer. Like, he's not particularly great, but he's literally their only ball playing center back. So as he's not really that great, but you have to use him in order to progress the ball for the back. Maguire is their only left-sided center back. So I don't know what they're going to do, if they're going to play Varane and Lindelof. I mean, Lindelof is not really a ball-playing center back, and he doesn't play on the left-hand side. So that could be something that we exploit. And I like that Saka will most likely be on that side. So any confusion over there will be exploited by Bukayo Saka, which is great. Henrik Ho Jacobson says early goal to Arsenal will cut United into pieces. 100%. Like an early goal is what we need. I think this is also one of those first goal wins types of scenarios where, you just have to kind of kill them off right away. Like we don't need to let it linger too long, and you can get at them early. Just like how we've done this most of the season where we come out strong. We just have to make sure we get the goal. And based on how we played against Chelsea, we know that the team can do that. So, yeah. Blaze says Tomiyasu is underrated. He is one of our most important players for us, Arsenal. He is not better than Trent or Reece James, but he can do a job defensively. Yeah, and I think with the way that we build up, the way that the right-hand side works so much better with Tomiyasu there. I think it gives Odegaard and Saka a lot more freedom, where when they have Cedric, not only does he struggles with the passing combinations on that side, but he doesn't give you the defensive solidity on that side. So that those two attacking players can kind of just do their thing. Tomiyasu would be a timely reintegration for him, if he's fit and ready to go. Against Liverpool, he was not fit, and it did kind of annoy me that some people that had decided that we had made a mistake by getting him instead of Emerson Royale and didn't want to just admit that they were wrong, decided to use that one nugget, that one game, that those couple of minutes against Liverpool to make a point and say, oh, well, he was never that good. We've seen Arsenal fans calling him a Japanese Bellerin. You not only profile wise could you get any further from the truth, but had been one of our best players. And to use that moment where he decided to play injured because we didn't have anybody else to play because Cedric had gotten hurt, to use that moment to shit on him, for me, was just so unacceptable. Tomiyasu has been one of our best signings this summer, or this past summer, and has done relatively nothing wrong. And I think he added that level of just get the defensive work done that said, like, Ben White needs somebody like that next to him. He needs that partnership next to him. He suffered a little bit without it. And I just found it weird that people, because there was a lot of Arsenal fans that were like, oh, well, Tottenham got Emerson Royale and we got Tomiyasu, so we clearly made a mistake. And when it became obvious that they were wrong, instead of saying that they were wrong, they doubled down and used that moment. I'll never say a bad word about Tomiyasu. Like, he's just been such a good signing, like a good solid signing to bring that foundation up for our team, and we've missed him. Saswat says, whatever happens, we cannot let Bruno Fernandes look like a competent midfielder. Yeah, I mean, if you give him space and you let him just sit in midfield and just ping balls over the top and just, do his thing, of course, like, he'll hurt you. Like, with time and space, he will hurt you. And so I'm hoping that we have some sort of plan for him. I'm sure we will. Also, Bruno doesn't like a physical game, and Manchester United in general doesn't like physicality. They don't want to have to work for it. And so if we're physical, not stupid, but physical, I think they will just say, forget it. Nashville Gooner says El Neni's best game for us was against Man United. Yeah, it was. He's just solid, and he does his job. You're not going to get anything from him offensively, but defensively, he's aware enough to make it work. And him next to Xhaka was a good foundation for the team, where having Sambi alone in midfield didn't really work out. So I would expect to see El Neni tomorrow. Let's see. Henrik says, if Arsenal does how they should do, then Arsenal will win this plus 2 or 3 goals. I'm not sure about that, but I do think that we can beat them, So yeah. Z Gould is saying, and he's obviously a Manchester United fan, you just lost to Brighton at home, Jess. The Emirates is not a fortress. Man United can definitely beat you tomorrow. Didn't say that you couldn't. I'm just saying that I think that we can beat you guys. Like, I feel like this just, okay, so we lost a couple of games. Our home form is actually still really good. Like, I don't know what you mean. You guys can still beat us, but I still think that we're probably in a better position. I mean, you can't look at your form and think that you guys are doing anything special, can you? So I think it's pretty much open to whatever. Martin says, totally agree. Some of their players will be better and some will be worse. Zich says, I found that announcement kind of weird. I mean, he is not here, and Wreck-It Ralph is still at the wheel. I think they needed to make the announcement so that they could, because you knew it was going to come after the Liverpool loss, because the media needs something else to focus on. If you focus on Liverpool that lost too long, then the toxicity continues. So this gives the fans something else to think about, other than Manchester United not really playing that well. So I'm not really surprised that the announcement came pretty much right after they lost to Liverpool. So Happily Egg says Maguire is the target for LFC when they play. Any pace beats him, but if he's not playing, well, what's the answer then, Happily Eggs? If he's not playing, what do we do? Let's see. Let's see. Happily Egg says, so as long as Arteta doesn't make this match, take this match for granted, you will win. Yeah, we have to show up and play. Like, I don't think we're wrong for feeling like we can beat them. Worst teams have beat Man United this season. So I don't really see the reason why we should be sitting here and saying, oh, well, there's no way that we can win. Like, we can win. We're at home. We should win. And we have a lot more to play for. Their own players are literally saying that they have nothing to play for. None of our players are saying that. And we're not in Champions League or any of that. So we have more to play for than them. They've already decided that they have nothing to look forward to. Tony says Tommy is the easiest decision. If he's fit, he plays. If not, Ben White plus Holding. The other positions are where Arteta has to make decisions. I really hope he doesn't galaxy brain it. I really hope he doesn't overthink it and try to change things. I don't think there's anything really to change, to be honest. I think most players that played against Chelsea should retain their position. And we finally found something that works. And I think confusing the team would be the wrong thing to do. Nashville says El Neni has a better goal per game average than Partey. Put some respect on his right boot. Fair enough. Blaze says, Jess, you're right, Jess, about Tomiyasu. Some fans like to create an agenda to hate players, and it's weird. It is weird. Nobody said that he was a world-class right back, but he definitely was a step up from Bellerin. And we have to take the steps as they go. It's like we always want to skip steps. And it's like, okay, well, we got rid of Bellerin, so the next right back we need to get is Hakimi. Oh, we didn't get Hakimi, so this guy is dead. There's a specific reason why we brought in Tomiyasu, and we needed to secure the back line. Of course, he has limitations going forward, but he's not a bum, and I won't hear anything of it. I won't hear anything of it. Let's see. Eddie says the thing with El Neni is that he just sometimes refuses to pass forward. If he plays some passes forward a few times, he'd be much more valuable to us. Yeah, I mean, he doesn't really do the forward passing. He can be a little bit risk adverse, but I think we're going to have to progress the ball in different ways. And I think one of the best things that we did against Chelsea was playing the ball in behind and running into the channels. Ramsdale using his distribution to get us up the pitch. We may not be able to rely upon Granit Xhaka and El Neni to do a lot of the progression, but I don't think Man United have a strong enough midfield where we couldn't play around them in midfield. But we have to have other ways of progressing the ball beyond just passing it through midfield. And I think the speed on the wings is the way to go. That's what I think. Let's see. iGamer says, I'm here, my dear. My spidey senses went off and I knew the show was on. Oh, I'm glad you're here. Thank you so much for joining us. Nashville says, you mean Jesus' mentality of being a pressing demon who works his socks off? Okay, so I get you guys are still talking about Gabriel Jesus. I get that level of signing is not going to get everybody off their seat. Honestly, I don't know. I mean, I think sometimes we just have we want better, but we don't actually realize that it's going to take time to be able to attract those top level players, and we don't want to do the in-between. If you thought we were going to sign like a $90 million striker, you're smoking crack. All right, so let's do this. let's build our lineup. Make sure you guys are liking the video and subscribing to the channel. I'm enjoying my time with you guys. Hope you guys are enjoying the show. So I don't see any issues with Ramsdale except for he's a little bit on the shakier side these days. But at the same time, like, I wouldn't mess with it. I saw some people like suggesting that maybe Leno needs to come back in because Ramsdale's been a little bit shaky. Stop this nonsense. Stop this nonsense. We just need to back him and hope that he gains a little bit of form towards the end of the season. I still prefer his distribution to Leno's. Unless anything has happened, I would imagine Gabriel would start. Here's kind of where it gets interesting. If Tomiyasu is ready to go, and I guess we could just put this as a positive omen, right? Let's just put Tomiyasu there just to hope. I still feel like it might be 50-50. Him not even being on the bench for Chelsea makes me a little bit like apprehensive that he would be available to start just a couple days later, but let's just hope. And if he wasn't, I would go with the exact same back line that started against Chelsea. How's that? Again, we spoke about Nuno in the last show. I think his bounce back has been something that I've really enjoyed. It's only been 2 games, but you can tell that he's at least committed to changing the tide around and he's not feeling sorry for himself. He's not sulking. He wants to. I mean, he was really culpable for the second goal that Chelsea scored. Not tracking Azpilicueta, very simple thing for a defender to do. But the very next time that he got the ball, he was in the attacking, the opposition's box trying to make something happen. And for me, that was a good indicator of somebody that realizes that you can make a mistake, but you just need a rebound from it. So this is kind of what I would go with. And this defensive structure was successful. And this was the back line where a lot of people were saying that Nuno needed to start over Kieran Tierney. He has to have the anchor of 3 strong center back like defenders next to him so that he can play more like a wing back. If you give him the Tierney role that Tierney had because Tomiyasu was out, he will not be successful. He's just not the type that can tuck in and be more of like a center back type. He can't do it. So I hope Arteta just continues on with this. I'd play Xhaka because what else do you got? I'd play El Neni because what else do you have? You need experience behind a young front line. And I think that, yeah, this is where Arteta needs to be very, very smart. Don't be stupid. I feel like there will be some sort of want to bring Lacazette back into the team, but for what reason? For what reason? He had contracted COVID, and from our experience with different players having it, I would imagine he's not 100%. So, and Nketiah scored 2 goals. So, how do you take the shirt away from somebody who did the business and has scored 2 goals where the guy that you could potentially replace him with has been on a goal scoring drought in open play since like who knows how long. So, I don't know how you take the shirt from Nketiah. You guys let me know in the chat box what you think about center forward. Do we stick with Nketiah? Do we go back to Lacazette? Do we, did you like seeing Martinelli as a center forward? I personally don't think he's ready for it. I think you kind of saw the lack of physicality and his lack of hold-up play in that position against Chelsea, and you could see why Arteta probably chooses Nketiah over him in that position. But if you think Martinelli should start through the middle, let me know. I think this one is pretty self-explanatory. No reason to change it. The guy had a really good game. Bukayo Saka scored the penalty, got that Euros penalty off his back, showed why he's one of our most important players, burned Alonso one side of down the other, and Sarr, I think he should start that game. Also, Man United could be potentially weaker on this side, depending on who plays there. So I think Bukayo Saka is fine there. Our old boy Odie, he's back, ladies and gentlemen, back from international break. It took him a couple weeks longer than we expected, but he's back. He was scaring me I'm not gonna lie. I was very much like, are we gonna see Martin Odegaard come back this season? And he did good against Chelsea. Um, Left wing is interesting because I think Emil Smith Rowe deserves to keep the shirt. You guys know I've been critical of him. He probably had some sort of knock, but his fitness looked like it was waning and he wasn't sharp in front of goal. There were two chances against Crystal Palace, one against Southampton that he probably should have put away. But he kind of got over that against Chelsea and he should have had two goals, but he did score one. And so I do think he keeps the shirt. But would you maybe bring in Martinelli and see what he can do against Dallo slash Aaron Wan-Bissaka? What do you think? Let's see. Saswat says, Martinelli for me, his pace against Dallo paired with Nuno doubling up on that wing will be crucial. Okay, you guys are talking to each other. Eddie says, Mikel Arteta needs to find a way to play Pepe and showcase him to improve his value if he plans to get anything in return. I'm not sure that we're at the point in the season where we need to be building up Pepe's value. I think we need to win games. I think that needs to be Mikel Arteta's focus at the moment. Tony says ESR is the right piece between Eddie and Nuno behind. Wouldn't care one bit if Nelly starts, though. I mean, these are good problems to have, right? Cannon says I would go with the goal scorers. iGamer says ESR stays in for me. Trevelli says ESR arrives in the box on time like Amazon. Happily Egg says you can't take Nketiah out. He is inconsistent, but appears to have hit form. Exactly. I don't think there's any way you can revert back to Lacazette at this point. And it would go against kind of all the things that Arteta said in his press conference about Nketiah. He needs a run of games, and we don't have a goal scorer, and we need to show everybody knows what Lacazette's going to do. We need to do something different. And I think the way Nketiah harasses players, if you think it's going to be Lindelof and Varane, those are not really physical defenders that will not fancy coming up against somebody that's just kind of like that really annoying fly that you're just like, get away. It's not going to be like Nketiah playing against Van Dijk and Matip. This is a lower level opposition to that. So I do think that having Nketiah there instead of Lacazette, who's really easy to play against at the moment, you have to keep Nketiah in. Ruben says Martinelli is sauce against big teams. It's a good point. He doesn't quite score the goals, but he does make a nuisance of himself. iGamer says Martinelli off the bench to run at defenders with tired legs. Yep. Eddie says he keeps playing. He might get better, as he has proven got better from the Southampton performance. Yeah, so we got to just kind of move with what was successful, right? Like if it ain't broke, don't fix it. So Smith Rowe keeps the shirt, looked fit and ready to play. Like he had his running back. He had his power and pace back. Like I was like, what happened to that guy? He was clearly carrying something, I think. So this is what I would go with. Nothing different except for Tomiyasu in for Rob Holding. And again, if Tomiyasu is not 100% ready to go, then play White at right back and play Holding as right-sided center back, because I don't think he hasn't done much to lose his shirt. But obviously, if you can get your first choice fullback in, then you do that. So I like that lineup. I think we have a good chance with it. What would be so funny is like when we look back at these lineups, if we potentially get Champions League, we will look back at these lineups and be like, I can't believe we got Champions League with this. Like, no offense, but it is funny. S says ESR and Eddie for me has to start. iGamer says we need strength off the bench. Keep Martinelli there as a game changer. Yeah. And Martinelli, I think, had like a shoulder, like little shoulder injury. So if he's not 100%, then just play ESR. Let's see. Trevelli says he also pops off the bench. So yeah, I think that makes this is the lineup that we should go with. Captain Joka says we need to start fast. So Martinelli on the left wing and interchange with Nketiah, both of them pressing is hard to handle. I think because if we play similarly to the way that we played against Chelsea, my only thing about that is that you lose a creator because there's no Thomas Partey. El Neni and Xhaka will play very, very close to that back line. They'll basically just be very narrow and very close to the back line. So you'll lose a little bit of that creation through your midfield. And so if you have Martinelli and Nketiah, neither of them are really creators in the way that Emil Smith Rowe can find pockets of space in between their back line and their midfield to progress us forward and add that extra midfield presence. So that is something that I probably want to keep, because without Thomas Partey, you just really lose like a whole midfielder. And in like El Neni and Xhaka do a good job, but as you saw, like with Chelsea, they literally stayed nailed, like how Ceballos and Xhaka used to do, like the season that we won the FA Cup, nailed in front of the center backs. So you lose a little bit of that creativity, you lose that midfield presence. And so I think you do have to kind of keep Emil Smith Rowe there, even though I agree with the fast start. And I do think you can have a fast start with Emil Smith Rowe. I think he's perfectly fine. Sohan says, personally, I keep Tomiyasu on the bench. I don't want to risk him getting another injury. Yeah, I think I understand that. Like, I get that we are apprehensive about using Tomiyasu. And that's why I said I don't believe that 100% that, if he couldn't even be on the bench against Chelsea, that he would just magically start this game. This is just me hoping. But yeah, if he's not ready to go, don't risk him. Tony says, I wouldn't do it, but I could see Sambi at home being a progressive monster. I wouldn't do it either. That's all I'm going to say about that. Eddie says, for Martinelli to excel as a number 9, Mikel Arteta would need to change his style of play and not demand him to do what Eddie and Lacazette does and drop back. Yeah, and I feel like this is the time to just, if you find something that works, just stick with it for a minute. Martinelli could potentially be a 9 in the future, but if Arteta's not using him there, he may just know something that we don't. So I'm perfectly okay with Nketiah staying there. Let's see. Cannon says, knowing Arteta, Tommy will not be starting even if fit. Well, knowing Arteta would mean that he would be, because Arteta tends to use players even when they're not 100% fit. So I do think if there's a chance that he is fit and ready to go, Arteta would use him. But I don't think they're holding him back, you guys, to be because for any old reason. If they're holding him back, it's because he's not ready. So yeah, I would be open to the same back 5 starting against Man United that started against Chelsea, and Tomiyasu probably being on the bench. But at this point, I'm not going to fault Mikel Arteta for being very cautious with Tomiyasu. The guy's been out for 3 months. That's a long time, So yeah. Before we get into some transfer rumors, because you guys just keep asking me, and of course I want to get to it as well, what is your score prediction for tomorrow? What do you think is going to happen? How do you think the game is going to go? Are we going to win? Are we going to lose? Are we going to draw? What do you think? Let me know what your score predictions are in the chat box. Bam! Score predictions. Let's do it. It's the hope that kills you. That's so funny. Cancun says 2-0 to the Arsenal. Saswat says 2-1. Ev says 3-1 to the Arsenal. Happily Egg says AFC 2-0. Liam says 3-1 to the Arsenal. Sky High says 2-1 up the Arsenal. iGamer says 2-0 to the Arsenal. Thank you so much for your super chat. She knows football. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Eddie says, I hope Mikel Arteta has learned his lessons and not rush players back. That's why I'm not even pressed. I'm not even pressed about Tomiyasu coming back, because that's one thing I have to say that really irritates me about Mikel Arteta is the rushing of players back. And any player, if you ask them, okay, can you play? They're going to say yes. And you need to just override it at some point and be like, they don't know what's best for them. They really don't. But I feel like because Arteta is constantly kind of in these moments of pressure, he makes decisions that are short term. Like we were never going to beat Liverpool that day that he brought Tomiyasu and Thomas Partey into that game, and we ended up with Tomiyasu getting another long-term injury and Thomas Partey being red carded because of fatigue. Like he had just gotten off of, a plane 6 hours prior. He did not need to play that game at all. We were never winning it, so I do feel like he makes short-term decisions sometimes that hurt us in the long term. And if you think back to Thomas Partey getting injured against Spurs, there's just been quite a bit of that. They even knew about Thomas Partey being fatigued coming back from qualifying for coming back from the African qualifiers when they qualified, Ghana qualified for the World Cup. And they knew about his fatigue and they still played him. And sometimes I do think it's like, would you rather, like Thomas Partey is the type of player, we know this now, that if he's even 80%, 70%, don't play him because he's either going to get a red card or get a long ass injury. But, he's under this pressure and he has to have these players in here or else he can't figure it out sometimes. So I do kind of think that like he needs to work on that, but maybe once he gets players that he really trusts, he won't feel the need to rush them back. But he definitely can't do that anymore. I can't handle it. Zich says 4-0 to the Arsenal. That'd be great. Travelli says, scared to call it. I got hopium, but I want these points so bad. I'm shook. No, I hear ya. New Wave Youth says, I think 2-0 to us. Cannon says 1-0 to the Arsenal. Let's see. Agoro says, I'm a bit confused about the tomorrow. We need a stopper, especially with Ronaldo and Sancho. But I feel like a 3-1 win is enough though. I don't know. I think the thing about United is that on paper, they will always look like a very dangerous team. And on their day, they will score a lot of goals. Like that's just how they are. Like they have a lot of attacking players with a lot of talent. And even when they're not trying, they score goals. Even when they're not trying, they can win. And so we always have to keep that in mind. I think the most important thing for Arsenal is to start off fast, get a goal early, knock them off of their whatever little hope that they have, kill it. Just kill it right in the beginning. And we saw that we scored first at Old Trafford. They were kind of on a little manager bounce as well because they had just gotten rid of Ollie. But we got the first goal and then we just went to shit defensively. And if you give them any sort of chance, they will get it. So we have to be defensively solid, score a goal first, and just make it really, really hard on them. We have to be physical. They don't want a physical game. And so I don't really care who they have out there because whoever they have out there can turn up on their day and be very, very good. I think it's more about what we do. Ronaldo 100% is going to play against us. I'm so sure of it. The issue that they have is that their midfield is not very good. Fred is not there. They'll probably have to play Matic and McTominay. So I think if you can also stop their midfield and stop Bruno from pinging balls over the top, you'll do pretty well. But yeah, we'll see. Ruben says 2-1 Arsenal win. Josh says 0-0. Ben Johnson says 4-1 Arsenal win. Asha says 2-1. May says 2-2. So we have some mixed results here, which is cool. I like it. D Cunningham says 2-1 to the Arsenal. S says, my head says 1-1, but my heart says 1-0 to the Arsenal. Tony says 5-2. I think it's going to be a high scoring game. I don't think we're defensively solid. Without our two best fullbacks, we've been very shaky, but neither are they. And so personally, I see like a 3-2 type of scoreline potentially to the Arsenal. But yeah, we'll see. We'll see. So now that we've gotten that out of the way, there's 133 of you guys in the chat box watching the show. Like the video, subscribe to the channel. and let's talk about some transfers. So I'm sure you guys already have seen it, but if you haven't, I want to read it like verbatim. Again, this is not me saying that 100% it's going to happen. I always have to say that because there's always somebody that's like, why are you guys always making up transfer rumors and making it seem like it's real? It's like, I'm not. Like, we're just chatting. Like, it's not deep. It's not deep. But if I like the rumor, of course I'm going to act like it's real. Come on now. So let me see. All right. So this came from Jorge Nicola from Sports Witness. So make of that what you will. Basically, Jorge has a YouTube channel, whatever, but is somebody that I think there's mixed reviews on whether or not he's super reliable. But he says that Arsenal are in advanced talks to sign Manchester City striker Gabriel Jesus. Edu Gaspar has been leading the negotiations. Amazing, because we know how Edu Gaspar does so good with his negotiations. But everything is agreed between the player and Arsenal. I've seen other parts of this say that we need to obviously talk to Man City. So we haven't done that part yet. But I mean, if you know anything about negotiations, they usually start with the player. If the player doesn't want to come, you don't need to talk to the club. And the number being kind of banded around in terms of like what the fee would be something around 30 million. And so you guys know me. If you've been on this channel long, you know I'm feeling it. You guys know I love Gabriel Jesus. And I think the first thing that people say is that he's not really a number 9. He doesn't really score a lot of goals, blah, blah, blah. But the thing about it is that we know we need 2 attackers, like at the very least. I think we need 3. Like, let's be real. But whoever the backup striker is, I think needs to be somebody that can play across the front line, that could give us something different. I see some Arsenal fans like with their lists, and your list is your list. But what I will say is that when I see lists that say, okay, we need to get Nunez and Osimhen, or Nunez and Dominic Calvert-Lewin, or 2 players that are quite similar. They're both like 9s. I don't think that gives us enough versatility. And in some games, we're not going to have space in behind. There's teams that like to sit off of us and sit in a block. And when you have players like Darwin Nunez, when you have players like Dominic Calvert-Lewin, when you have players like Victor Osimhen, sometimes like those types of players, even like, remember how Aubameyang was kind of similar to this. When you don't have space in behind and you don't have the ability to stretch the game, those players don't play as well, because they do better when we're counterattacking, when they have space to stretch their legs and get balls in behind. So sometimes you're going to need something different. So personally for me, I want somebody that can play across a fluid front 3, that has the technical quality to kind of play like a midfielder, similar to what Lacazette's been doing, but obviously has more goals in them and is just a better footballer in general, because Lacazette is doing very basic shit. And it's not like he's doing anything relative, like very, very special, even though he's been doing a good job. Also, Gabriel Jesus is a very, very good footballer. Like, take away the being a number 9, he is better than like everything that we have. So keep that in mind. He's 25, so he could still get better, and he can press. And sometimes with Lacazette, he sometimes presses and sometimes doesn't. So 30 million for a player that will be a different option. I know people are like, well, he's not going to want to come to be a backup, so he's going to be the starter. Arteta only has these starters and backups because he doesn't trust the guys on the bench. If he has somebody that he trusts, he probably will play them and have other options so that we can do different things in games. So I'm not particularly worried about him starting games and us buying another striker and then them having to share time. Like, that's just the reality. If we're in Europe, we're going to need more than one striker. We just are. And somebody's going to be on the bench and they're going to have to work for their spots. We have to get comfortable with that. So with Gabriel Jesus it's looking certain that he's going to leave. Does that mean that he's 100% going to come to Arsenal? No. But does this deal make sense for us? Yeah. He fits within the Premier League proven, 25 and under, high upside, very decent deal in terms of 30 million. That's good deal because we need a lot of players. Like, we're not just going to get 3. So I think this is something that I would be comfortable with. This is also means that we would need to get another striker, somebody more of a complete 9 that can give us a different look. If we are wanting to play on the counter, if we're wanting to get more size up top, if we want to just play more traditionally. But Gabriel Jesus is also somebody that can play off of the right and off of the left. So you have somebody that can take some of the burden off of Bukayo Saka. He has played off of the right for Pep, and he does a really good job there. He also plays off of the right for Brazil. So I think that we just need to be a little bit more open to it. I'm not saying that Gabriel Jesus has to be the guy, but being open to something other than just a complete 9, and also remembering that because we need numbers, we may not be able to buy one striker at 90 million. We may not be able to do that this time around. There will be more windows, but it's a gradual progression. So we're not quite at the Virgil van Dijk, Alisson window. We're not quite there yet. We need another numbers window. And so hopefully with Europe, we can get a higher quality player. Don't worry about, if they can't start, they won't want to come. That's not a thing. And we don't want players that don't want competition. We want players that want to actually compete for a place. And so that's what I want to see is more competition for places. I want something kind of similar to what we did last summer, quality and quantity. And I think we can do that with Gabriel Jesus. Again, not saying that it's going to happen, but I, for one, am okay with this signing, more than okay with it. You guys know I rate him very highly. I think he's somebody that needs to feel like he's an important part of the team. And with Pep, like, he may not be what they need at the highest level, but is he somebody that can improve Arsenal? Yeah. Can he have an important role for Arsenal moving forward and feel more? Because I don't think he ever looks relaxed. He looks like somebody that misses chances because he lacks confidence. And some players lack confidence because they know, oh shit, like, if I don't make this shot, like, they're under a lot of pressure. He feels like somebody that's always under pressure. He might need another environment. And I just feel like he fits the project. Like, I'm not surprised that we'd be interested in him. So yeah, for me, I like this particular signing with another striker also coming in. So with a Nunez coming in, with I don't know, it's got to be Nunez because I do not want Dominic Calvert-Lewin, but with somebody else like that coming in. So let's see. Let's see what you guys are saying. Zich says, I would like to see him in our team. iGamer says, get them likes up, folks. Come on, you guys. Make sure you guys like the video so I can get found all around the internet. Thanks, guys. Mohammed says, Arsenal should sign right wingers this summer. Gabriel Jesus can play off of the right. Ify says, when are we going to get that Virgil van Dijk window, Jess? Time is ticking away, in my opinion. You can't get Virgil van Dijk and Alisson without confirming that you're a Champions League level team. So I think we did the first window that was actually a part of this project was this past summer. And so we need another one. Like we just do. And so how can we get Virgil van Dijk and Alisson if we can't guarantee Champions League football and we can't guarantee that we're going to make it the next year? I do think that it's coming, but we need to kind of like be a little bit more patient. That's all I'm saying. I don't think we're quite there yet. And how are you going to go to Osimhen and say, leave Napoli and come to us, but we can't guarantee you Champions League football. And we also can't guarantee that we know we're going to make it the next season. I think it's very difficult to do that. So I think we're just a little bit off at the moment. Let's see. Winchester Crew Podcast says, if we get top 4, we need to go hunting. Lewin, I don't know. We need 5 or 6 players in the summer if you exclude a winger. Yeah, we need a lot of players. Mohammed says Arsenal should sign a top striker in the summer. it's just like when you say top striker beyond Holland, like I don't know what you guys think a top striker is. Like there's Nunez, he's a prospect. Like he really is. Like coming from the Portuguese league being 22 years old, he's a prospect. Osimhen doesn't have to move. I honestly think Osimhen stays another season and sees what's out there next time around because he doesn't have to go. He unless somebody comes in with a like 80 million pounds, like yeah, he ain't got to go nowhere. Um he doesn't. He doesn't have to leave. Um, Isak, he kind of really just fell off. Broya, is he a top striker? He's a prospect. So you have to, I think we have to stretch our money and go for forwards that fit what we're trying to do and lift lift the floor and the ceiling of this team and then go bigger, like with one or two really big signings the next summer because we just don't have enough numbers. S says midfielders should be the place we add the most depth this summer. It looks like wants to try to keep El Neni. So, but that's a whole nother story. Tony says, I don't think it's about getting a striker. It's more getting an inside forward, and Jesus is that. Yeah, and I mean, I think it's less risky to get a couple of forwards than getting one big name striker and it potentially not working out the way that you want it to. And none of the top teams in our league play with a striker. They don't. I mean, Chelsea tried it with Lukaku. They ended up playing Mount, Havertz, and Ziyech. Like, like they don't play with a striker. Man City don't really play with a striker. I know they're buying Holland, but they don't really play with a striker, and neither does Liverpool. So I think just being open to something else, I think is fine. I know we want a striker that's going to score 20 goals a season, but I think we just need somebody that can be better than Lacazette, score more goals than Lacazette, but we don't have to put so much of a risk on it because if we spend 80 million on a striker and it doesn't work out, we're effed. So I think we're in the market for a couple of forwards. Like that's what it is. I don't know. Ruben says Arsenal need to be shrewd in the transfer window, not splashing money anyhow. Yeah, no, I agree. I think the 30 to 40 million range, a couple of those would go a long way. Ify says, seems people don't want Nunez. He can score with his head, foot, complete package, in my opinion. It's not that I don't want him. If we got Gabriel Jesus, I wouldn't be afraid to have Nunez because his touch is not great and he's a prospect. So he's somebody that I don't think necessarily will hit the ground running. He could, but do you know how frustrated this fan base would be if he needed like 4 months to get up to speed and we didn't have somebody else there that's already done it before in this league that we could rely upon? So for me, Nunez would be somebody that at 60 million, you could bring him in plus Jesus, you cover the striker position, you have versatility there. Nunez has a very high ceiling. And when you know what I mean, I feel like it's fine to have him as a prospect that needs some time, but you can't have nobody. I think that's my apprehension is having nobody that's done it before. Nunez, his touch is not amazing in terms of back to goal play. He tends to go wide because he doesn't want to get kicked. And if we're going to get a number 9, he's got to be somebody that is okay with getting kicked by center backs in the Premier League, as far as I'm concerned. But that doesn't mean that he can't grow into that. I'm still open to Nunez, even though he was a little bit disappointing when I watched the Arsenal Vision scouting report on him in terms of back to goal and, that kind of stuff. iGamer says we don't need top players, we need the right players. Was Henry a top striker when Wenger found him? No. And I mean, because a lot of people want to say that we're doing the Liverpool thing. I don't think we're really doing that. But if you just look at what they did, Mo Salah and Mane were not really considered what they are now before they got to Liverpool. So we do need the right players that play in the system. We definitely need quality, but I can't say that I think that Gabriel Jesus is not quality. Like he's better than like everybody that we have. Like he is. Let's see. Mohammed says Arsenal have 7 years to go. Has 7 years ago Arsenal was in the Champions League. Yeah, I get that. So yeah, Let's see. She Knows Football says, "Never meant to leave your channel. I always support you. Have to leave social, etc. But you got me back today. Been a while. Always support and watch you shine." Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. Don't ever let people chase you away from what you like to watch and do. I know the internet can be some mean streets sometimes, but never let them take your smile, you know? So yeah, I am definitely all for Gabriel Jesus coming to Arsenal. I've pretty much decided that it's happening. So there you go. The next transfer rumor that I want to talk about is Livramento. So he's somebody that's being linked to the club, and I like this link as well. Premier League proven, obviously this is his first like full season, but we need a right back. And Tomiyasu is amazing, but we need something different as well. And when you watch Livramento play, his technical quality is of a level that we just don't have in our team. Um, and so for like 25 million, Livramento would be so good. So good. I like him better than Spence. I have to be honest. I think Spence is somebody that when I watched him play the other day, I think they were playing Huddersfield. Were they playing Huddersfield? Or are they playing West Brom? I think they're playing West Brom, one of those teams. But Nottingham Forest, they won the game like 4-0 or something like that. But I just thought to myself, like, does he make the step up that easily? A lot of players look good when they play up. Like, obviously, he played against us and he looked really good, but that was like one game for me. That's like one game. And so if I had the choice between spending like 25 or 20 million on Spence, somebody that's coming from a lower league, or 25 million on Livramento, I would go for the person that I've actually seen play in the Premier League before. Livramento kind of has it all. He has the speed, he has the technical ability, he can cross, he can pass, he can do all the things. And I think he would complement Saka and Odegaard on that right-hand side very well. We need somebody that has a little bit more about them in the final third, and that's no shade to Tomiyasu. He's also very valuable to us if we want to play with him and Tavares on the other side. But I like Livramento in terms of what he can do on the ball. So yeah, I like this rumor as well. Not sure if it'll happen or not, but if I had a choice between him or Spence, I would choose Livramento because I've seen him play in the Premier League. And one thing that a lot of Arsenal fans have been frustrated with is our inability to start fast in the beginning of the season. We're not going to have any international football this summer. So I think Arsenal really need to get signings done, get them in preseason, and get on the ground running. And the best way to do that is to make sure you have players that have played in this league before. And so I love this rumor. To me, Livramento seems like an Arsenal type player or an Arteta player. I know he came from Chelsea's academy, but Chelsea's academy does produce some of the best talents. Hate to say it, but they do. And they were stupid for letting him go. And so this is somebody that I would like to see. What do you guys think about Livramento? Do you think Livramento is not on a loan? Southampton bought him. What's his name is Broja is on loan, but they sold Livramento to Southampton. So it doesn't have anything to do with Chelsea anymore. But I do like this one. I do. Saswat says Livramento is more of a wingback, though. Do we really need that? We really need to have that, to have Brook Norton-Cuffy as a potential backup right wing back. Why not go for a Tomiyasu mold again as competition? My choice, Joaquim Mele of Atalanta. I think we need quality, but different options and versatility. Because if you need to just play somebody similar to Tomiyasu, then just play White there instead, and play Saliba as your right-sided center back. I would not go and buy another Tomiyasu type player because we already have Tomiyasu. The right wing back thing, I do understand that, but if we play Tierney the way that we've been playing him, a little bit more reserved on the right hand or on the left hand side, Livramento is fine. I think if you play Tavares, then you have to play Tomiyasu, White, and Gabrielle. If you play somebody like Livramento, you play Tierney, Gabrielle, and White. Like, you just have to shift it and make sure you have somebody that's more of a fullback on the opposite side. So I don't think it's that big of a deal. I mean, Arsenal fans really want us to be more attacking and have a different type of option going forward on that right hand side. I get that he's more of a wing back, and I didn't really like that about Lamptey, but he's 19 and he can probably grow into that role a little bit more. I think it's just, it would be nice to have something a little bit different. And honestly, if Tierney does stay at Arsenal, I think we will have to convert him into some sort of left-sided center back type center left back, because him bombing up the side is not going to work for the rest of his career. So, I wouldn't mind seeing something like this, but I understand the apprehension around Livramento being like a wing back. Let's see. Rahat says get 15 or 20 or 30 maybe million on Spence. Great deal. I don't think so. I have to disagree. I think you look at somebody and they're playing in a lower league, or they play up against us one time and they look really good. But for somebody coming from the championship, I wouldn't pay more than like 12 million for him. And if that's the case, I'd rather just keep Brooke Norton-Cuffy. But Livramento is on another technical level than Spence. And I think we need more technical quality in some positions. And if you could use Tomiyasu as more of a physical option and Livramento as more of a technical option, you have that versatility that you don't really have with Spence, in my opinion. But I do think Spence is a good player. I just prefer Livramento. So yeah, that would be me. Brooke Norton-Cuffy is somebody that we don't need to rush as well. Like, he's playing in League One, doing a good job, probably needs another year or so. He's what, 19, 18, 19. We don't need to see him for another 2 seasons or so. We don't need to rush him into the team. Let him grow on his own pace. We need to go ahead and buy this position. He won't get blocked. Like, I think we get too worried about blocking players' paths. He'll be fine. Let's see. Enzo, about Patino. After I saw him against Nottingham Forest, I didn't really think that he was as close to the first team as I would like. Personally, I don't really want to see kids as literally like the next option. And is it to his benefit to be like the 5th option as an Arsenal center mid? Probably not. I think Patino needs to go out on a loan. That's what I would say. Dupe says Livramento is 1 year older than Brooke Norton-Cuffy. I think Livramento will block his progression. 1 year older doesn't mean is not the same as actual like experience. So Livramento is playing first team football in the Premier League. Brooke Norton-Cuffy is playing first team football in League One. There are levels and there's a gap there. Just let Brooke Norton-Cuffy do his thing. Just let him do his thing. I think that age kind of gets conflated with actual experience, and Livramento is ahead of Brooke Norton-Cuffy in that regard. But I do think Brooke Norton-Cuffy is very good. But I do like this rumor as well. And what do you guys think about the Tielemans rumors that aren't really going away? It does kind of look like that's a player that Arsenal really want. There was a report that came out, I think, from Ben Jacobs yesterday. Let me look for it. Where is it? Yeah. So this is coming from Ben Jacobs. He says Arteta and Edu would love to bring Lille's Jonathan David to AFC, but Calvert-Lewin might be a more realistic target. I don't know why Jonathan David is not a realistic target for us, but Calvert-Lewin might be more realistic. Arsenal have also been in talks for around a year with Tielemans, and Livramento is also on Arteta's wish list. So what do you guys think about the Tielemans rumors that won't really go away? I think some Arsenal fans are very apprehensive about what he can do going back towards his own goal. He's somebody that is very good on the ball, but off the ball leaves a lot to be desired. And they also said that in that same report, Ben Jacobs was saying that Arteta also has apprehensions about his defensive ability and can he play in a more rigid system at Arsenal? Because we know we have a lot more structure to what we do, and Leicester is a lot more free. Tielemans and Madison and Drewsbury Hall, they can kind of just rotate and do what they want to do. That's also why they get exposed defensively, but offensively they're very, fluid, where we're a lot more like, this is your position, positional play, this is what you do. And so in that report it did say that Arteta is worried about that as well, but 25 million for somebody who's Premier League proven, that I think a couple of months ago people probably would have taken him, but because he's had some off games, they're not really feeling him anymore. I think is kind of a steal. And we need somebody. If you look at what Xhaka was doing before Thomas Partey left, we do need somebody, or Thomas Partey got injured. We need somebody that can offer us more in the final third. We don't need somebody that is going to play just like Granit Xhaka. If we have somebody that's going to play like Granit Xhaka, you might as well keep him. I'm not necessarily convinced that we need speed in the midfield. I think you need speed on the wings. You don't necessarily need speed in your midfield. I think you need intelligent players to play in the midfield that have technical ability, but also have the ability to be defensively responsible. That is where I think Tielemans leaves some to be desired. He is somebody that just defensively doesn't have the nous really. And I think he also has, I don't want to say like he's 100% down tools on his team, but since it's been kind of known that he's not going to sign a new contract, his form has really dipped. But what he can give you going forward is something that I think Arsenal can use. He scores goals. He's somebody who's more comfortable in those advanced positions, feeding balls into the wingers and the striker. He can pick a pass. He's just better attacking wise than Granit Xhaka. But can Arteta make him less of a defensive liability? I don't know. But there you go. S says, give me Sanchez. I've said it before and I'll say it again. You want Sanchez so that he can be on the hospital bed like for his entire time at Arsenal? I don't get it, S. Like, you know that he's injury prone. We've spoken about this before. Sohan says, if Neves likes to celebrate, I'd take him over Yuri. Fair enough. O'Malley says Fabian Ruiz is the guy at the list price and skill set. I do love Fabian Ruiz. I do think that he'll hold out to go to like a Real Madrid or a Barcelona. And if he is at that price, one of those teams might want him, so we'll see. Let's see. Tony says, I could see Tielemans looking a lot better with a little structure. Maybe he is somebody that needs some more structure in his life. Ify says, we need an all-around CM that can do defensive and attacking aspect. Can we afford a player like that? And what player is that? I think somebody that comes to mind is maybe like Jude Bellingham, but we can't afford him. So do you want somebody more defensive or do you want somebody more attacking? Because I don't think we can get somebody that's all around that actually improves us at the price point that we're probably shopping at. Let's see. Never Neves. Tony, I know you don't like him. I know that. S says, I want Sanchez to dominate games he plays in. If that means 25 league games, then so be it. S, I don't know, man. I don't know. Saswat says, Ruiz has eyes set on La Liga, I think as well. Let's see. Captain Joka says, Jess, you say Sanchez is injury prone, but we bought Tierney. Well, then why repeat it? I think if we knew what we knew now about Tierney, we would maybe have thought to get somebody different. Now, we've already bought him and I love him. So, I don't want to get rid of him now. But why repeat the same potential mistake for Renato Sanchez? I don't know. Blaze says, Jess, it seems Arteta wants to buy Tielemans or Neves, but not Basuma. There are rumors that Arsenal have reached an agreement to buy Neves, but it wasn't happened in a last minute. I don't know. I mean, I don't know. It feels like Tielemans or Neves and not Basuma. I don't think Arteta is interested in bringing in a defensive central midfielder. I think he wants somebody with the technical ability, somebody that has the passing there. I do think Basuma has more to his game than people give him credit for. And the system that he plays in for Brighton just requires him to kind of be like a destroyer. But when he played at Lille, he had more of the going forward ability. He was more like Renato Sanchez in that way, where he could keep the ball and progress it through dribbling. But I think Arteta and the club want to go for a Tielemans / Neves. I don't understand the Neves one because I don't feel like he would give us much more than Granit Xhaka. But I understand Tielemans a little bit more because he can give you more in the final third. Let's see. Best Gaming Laptop says you need speed in midfield definitely to track runners in the Premier League. I think that was one of Torreira's weaknesses. I think as our Arsenal gets better and better, teams sit off of us more. So I don't really see the space that we would need to really track. The games that we play tend to be very compressed. So I'm not sure that we, as the team that will probably have more of the ball and teams sit off of, would need somebody that can cover big patches of grass. I think we need players that can operate in smaller spaces. But when we played under Emery, the game was very stretched because we had no structure. It was just kind of like go for it. So yeah, one of Torreira's weaknesses was being able to, run far and like cover grass. But I'm not sure that that's really what we need. I don't really see us getting done in midfield off of not tracking runners. I think that now that Granit Xhaka has pushed up the pitch, what we need is somebody in that left half space that feels comfortable on the edges of the box to make the right pass to Martinelli, to make the right pass to ESR, that maybe has a little bit more of a set piece specialty, somebody that can do more going forward for us, but also can get compact and defend in a block, because we do that as well. So let's see. Dupe T says Matthias Nunez, Jess, and Ibrahim Sangare. Those are two midfield options. I think Matthias Nunez will end up at Man City. He's been reliably linked to Man City, and I think that's where he'll end up. We haven't been linked at all. So I can't really see that one happening, but I do think he's a good player. Sangare is the player. If we were to get a Thomas Partey backup, if the club decided that Lukonga was just a little bit too far away to Thomas Partey, and we wanted to bring somebody in to close that gap, Sangare would be the player that I bring in. He has come on leaps and bounds since going to PSV, and I think they probably bought him for like 8 million, so we could probably get him for like 25. I do think we need a player like that. I would prefer to get somebody like Sangare than keep on an El Neni, but I think the club will go for more of like keep El Neni for another couple of years than actually buy somebody that's closer to Thomas Partey that could potentially block Lukonga. Those are my thoughts on that, because every report that I see says one midfielder, and I'm like, that's not enough, but it feels like that's the direction that the club is going in. Sohan says, I feel like we would really regret not getting Basuma, in my opinion. I would be so jealous if someone like Spurs or United get him. I feel like he'll end up at like Spurs. I do. I think they need a player like that. And we just we've never really been linked to a defensive central midfielder that's pretty much a destroyer. All the CDMs that we've been linked to have some sort of passing ability. They are more of like a facilitator than a destroyer type. And so I do think that the club may have looked at Basuma, but he's definitely not top of the list. I feel like they prefer a Neves type over him. And so it depends on our system. We'll only miss him if we don't recruit properly for the position that suits us more. I do love Basuma though, as a player. Cancun says Tyler Adams, Jess. I love Tyler Adams, but he is injury prone and he doesn't really have the passing ability. Yeah. So I love Tyler Adams, but I wouldn't bring him in at this point. And that hurts me to say. Let's see. Tony says, where do the top CMs end up? Who are the options here? Who are we talking about? Are we talking about like Tchouaméni? Jude probably won't move for another year or so. We know West Ham are clinging on to Declan Rice so hard. They're not going to sell him this summer, probably next summer. Basuma, if he does have that cloud over him, I see people saying that in the chat box. He has that cloud around him about that sexual assault case. So that may be a reason why people aren't really looking at him like they were before. But if I had to guess if Basuma would move, where he would end up, it probably would be Spurs. I could see James Maddison at Spurs as well, because he will need a move. Who else is a top midfielder? See, I don't really consider like Neves a top midfielder. But Tchouaméni, he's going to end up at Real Madrid. They're going to start like a new youth project there. That's going to be really interesting to see what happens with that. I think they're doing the right thing by going after Camavinga and Tchouaméni and staying away from like Pogba. That's smart. Callum says, I really like Douglas Luiz of Villa. If we needed somebody to be a backup to Thomas Partey, that's who I would choose, but not as the advanced 8. I don't think he has enough in his attacking. But as like, if they wanted to part with him for like 20 million, he might be somebody that I would look at. That's closer to Thomas Partey that's already Premier League proven, if that really makes sense. Travarelli says Liverpool doesn't pay and Chelsea is about to be poor. Fair enough. S says, what about Pogba? PSG, that looks like that's where he's going to end up. And that's kind of like the type of signings that they like. You know, these guys that are kind of these selfish dudes, guys that are going to sell shirts. That's kind of feels like the right move for all parties. Big contracts, you know, that kind of thing. Blaze says, what kind of type of midfielders do you want Arsenal to buy? Some sort of advanced 8 that can also be defensively responsible, but gives us something more in the final third. I like the links to Sabitzer. I think we need more quality in midfield. I would bring in 3 midfielders. I just can't do another season of El Neni and Xhaka being the next man up. I'm not feeling it, and I think Lokonga is too green. So if it was me, I mean, I like the Sabitzer links. That's somebody that I would bring in because it seems like you could probably get him for like 20 million or something. Like that's a steal for somebody with the experience and the quality that he has. And that would keep you from spending 50 million on Ruben Neves because they're quite similar in the things that they do. So I would probably go after somebody like that. Like I already said, Ibrahim Sangare, somebody that's closer to Thomas Partey. So when Thomas Partey inevitably pulls up on his hamstring, we have somebody that we feel confident can play in a single pivot and do the defensive work, but also do a little bit of playmaking from deep in midfield. I'm not totally opposed to the Tielemans. I'm not like jumping for joy, but I do recognize that he fits the 25 and under Premier League proven at a good price type of thing. And he could play as an 8. So that works for me. Fabian Ruiz is kind of like a dream signing for me. Like that's who I think would be perfect for that role. But as we've already kind of spoke about, I think he's looking to go probably to Spain, to one of the big Spanish clubs. And if I was him, that's probably what I would do too, if I'm being honest. And those are like the main ones, if I'm honest. Like I like Lucas Paqueta. I don't like the price that's being banded around. I don't think that that's a price that we need to or should be paying for a player of his stature. I think we made a mistake not going after Bruno Guimaraes. That price for that level of player is crazy, but Lucas Paquetá for 58 million is robbery. I would never pay that for him, but he's a player that I do like. So if we had all the money in the world, that's somebody I would go after. But I think for sure we need a left 8 that can play more in an attacking sense, but can also win duels and get back into defensive shape. Not sure if that's Tielemans, but at 25 million, Premier League proven, I can see why the club wants it. And a defensive central midfielder that's closer to Thomas Partey because Lakanga is not close enough. That would be what I do. So yeah, let's see. I don't want Pogba. You guys keep saying it, but I don't. Let's see. Thunder Road says, "Come on, Jess. Put respect on Thomas Partey's hamstring. It's his quad that's problematic." Fair enough. You're right. It is. But when he pulls up, we need somebody that we can be like, okay, well, at least so and so is there. Like, you know what I mean? Because I do think we all are kind of like, oh shit, like we have to play Sambi, and Sambi is a good young player, but I think the reality of how far he actually is away from being like Premier League ready is something that we need to look at. Let's see. Villa's Ramsey, I think he needs to stay there for a little bit longer. I think he's a great player. Like his ball striking ability is probably his best attribute. But everybody looks good when they're playing on a lower level team that has no pressure. I still think he's too young for any of the top teams to be considering him at this point. But he's a really good young player. He should stay there for a while. Snake Eyes says, Jess, I feel like we need a Santi Cazorla type of player, someone who can instantly change the game and create. Who is that player? I mean, the reality is they don't grow on trees. Those types of guys are special. I think a lot of us underappreciated Santi when he was at the club. You don't realize those players do not fall off trees. So, yeah, I don't know who a Cazorla player would be. Let's see. Captain Joka says, people don't understand the balance Xhaka brings to the midfield. If you can't get a faster version of Xhaka, we will be pushed back 5 years. I think he's going to be difficult to replace. I think he'll stay. That's for sure. I think he'll be here for another season, but can we find better? Like, can we get something a little bit different? Yeah. I would look for somebody that's like Xhaka but quicker because we already have Granit Xhaka. I would look for somebody that offers you something different. That's what I would do. But I'm not even worried about Granit Xhaka at this point. He's done enough this season for me to be like, if he stays, fine. If he goes, fine. I just don't want to start anymore. That's my thing. Let's see. They're like, I wouldn't mind Pogba. I want him. Dupe T says, we need physical players. Our team is weak. I think, do I have technical difficulties? Can you see me? Am I lagging? Can you guys see me? Am I still here? You guys tell me, can you see me? Am I lagging? Oh no, I don't know why. Okay, well, we're about to get off anyway, but the physical players thing, can you guys hear me? If you guys can't, like, let me know. Hold on. Speaker. Hello. Okay, we're going to get off anyway, but the physical players, I think, will be good up top. So that's where like Nunez would come in. Obviously, Gabriel Jesus is way more physical and way more like intense than the players that we have. And then somebody like Gakpo. You know, he's 6'2", he's quick, he's physical. I think those players are there, and that's the type of profile we should look for. I would be happy with Nunez, Gabriel Jesus, Gakpo, Tielemans, Livramento type window. I wouldn't die if that's what we got. So yeah, but you guys, I'm going to go ahead and get off. I've been here for like an hour and 40 minutes, and yeah, I'll see you guys tomorrow after the game. I am worried. I am nervous, but hopefully we win. Thank you guys for being here. Like the video, subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you guys tomorrow after the game for player ratings. Bye, guys.